who the Niners should trade. You got to pick one player on this team who doesn't get to be on this team next season. He's out. Trading him, business decision. Who's it going to be?
Sorry, Elijah Mitchell, but you're gone. You're gone. I mean, you don't do much for the team anyways. You're often injured. Kyle loves you because you did a few things good last year or the couple of years ago, whatever, your rookie year when you had a couple of good yards. But I don't see how you could keep Elijah Mitchell on your roster when you have Jordan Mason as your number 2. Might as well try to get a 6th rounder for Elijah Mitchell, whatever you can for him. I don't know if he has value, but I think that would be the one I would go to. I know everyone in the chat's probably going to say Debo, but the moving on Debo now or post June 1st doesn't make sense because if you're going to win now, you got to keep Debo on your roster. I think next year is when you make that decision on trading Debo. So I'm definitely going Elijah Mitchell. If I had to choose a second, oh man, I'm getting rid of Colton McKivitz just because I don't want him on the team. So forces the Niners to get a real offensive tackle. And I'm being serious, like go get a legit offensive tackle. Like that's what I would do. I would get rid of Elijah Mitchell so Jordan Mason could play. Everyone loves Jordan Mason. Get rid of Colton McKivitz because they need to go get a real offensive tackle. I'm sorry, not sorry on that second one.
You didn't say Brandon Ayuk.
No.
You did not say Brandon Ayuk. So explain to me why you think the Niners shouldn't trade Brandon Ayuk. I know it's not like I should be explaining why I think they should because that's like the far out take. Most people would agree with you. I just want to hear your reasoning because I think it's an interesting topic. Just in terms of business.
I mean,
we both think he's excellent. He's a great player.
You don't trade an elite receiver, right? He's right there on the borderline being elite receiver. You don't do that. Like, so when you have, there's levels to receivers. You have a true receiver 1, that's Brandon Ayuk. And then you have like your dudes that are really good route runners, but they're not great players. And you just don't, I would pay Brandon Ayuk. If he wants $30 million, pay him the $30 million. Like, you literally have built your roster upon guys who have created their name off of working hard, showing up to the facility every day. What's the difference between George Kittle growing from a 5th round pick to Brandon Ayuk going from the doghouse to being this elite player? Like, to me, that's where it doesn't make sense to me. And I see a lot of fans were like, well, if he doesn't want to be here, get rid of him. If you don't have Brandon Ayuk on the roster, guaranteed the Niners don't make the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl. And that's a guarantee. If you don't have a true number 1, you're not making it far in the playoffs. Debo is not a number 1. A lot of people like to say Debo's that guy. He is not that guy. I'm sorry. He's not that guy.
The reason I would trade Brandon Ayuk is because I think he's great and I think he'd be a phenomenal investment for another team. But like once you're giving a guy $27, $28 million a year, to me, like you have to be committed to fully maximizing his output. That's what I'm talking about. Like business. And I don't think the Niners are fully committed to maximizing Ayuk's output. I don't think they are. If they all of a sudden evolve a little bit and give him more targets and improve the offensive line's pass protection, and maybe Brock Purdy gets a stronger arm, I'd be all in. But until those things happen, I'm like, you think he's going to be at like 110 targets a year? It's just not going to get the opportunities to really make you feel like you're getting a good return on your investment. And in a couple years, you're going to be like, man, his cap hits what? For what? I don't know. I just think that, and it won't be his fault. But that's how I feel. I'd trade him now. I think his trade value is at his absolute zenith, considering he hasn't gotten paid yet. He's 26.
I mean, one thing I would say, like as a counter argument to that, is Kyle Shanahan has shown to utilize an elite receiver. If we look at Julio Jones, even though he didn't have the touchdowns that everyone wanted him to have, Ayuk's different. He gets those touchdowns. So you could kind of see Kyle Shanahan utilize Julio Jones, and I think he should start utilizing Ayuk in that fashion. I know he's not that level of a receiver, but he has the potential to be that kind of guy. And when you look at the Niners, the reason why they lost is because Kyle Shanahan hasn't evolved as a play caller, as a head coach. True. Not going to Brandon Ayuk in that Super Bowl when they're playing man coverage and blitzing you, utilizing Debo.
That was strange.
Weird. It's super
weird. That was so strange. Can you even begin to explain it?
You can't. There's no way you can. Like, throughout the entire season, Debo struggled to beat man coverage, and it's obvious. And all film analytics, it shows Debo struggled to beat man coverage. Then you go to him in
like
the key
Kyle
situation.
knows ball. I don't get it.
You know what I
He's too
think it might be
smart.
too, though?
What?
It might. I truly think Kyle went from the last Super Bowl where he went away from Debo Samuel, right? So thinking, you know what, I gotta keep going to Debo Samuel to win this Super Bowl. I think
True.
that might have been it.
He's
Like
like he's like one step behind, right? He's like stuck in the past. Last time, I'm not making that mistake again. It's like, dude, that was years ago.
I think that's what it was. Like, hey, you know what? I'm
Yeah,
gonna feed you. And it's like, dude, at some point you gotta realize he's not beating man coverage.
adjust.
He's
Yeah,
getting whooped on the line of scrimmage, two hands, not just one hand by the corner. And it was just
it's true.
awful. And I think if you get rid of Brandon Ayuk, who beats man coverage for the Niners? Your next
Well,
best receiver is
well,
Jennings.
I guess the question would be, you trade him for probably a pick between 25 and 40, somewhere in there. And the question is, could you draft a wide receiver who could play X for the 49ers and get
I mean, how fast
six
is he in the
targets a
doghouse?
game? 6 targets a game. Or could they just sign Tyler Boyd and have him run the dig routes from the X position as they develop someone else? Because I think that's kind of when they showed interest in Boyd, to me, that's Kyle like making an admission of what his quarterback is. It's like, yeah, I mean, Brock's really good, right? Brock's really good. But if that's our quarterback, then are we really going to be going after wide receivers who stretch the field, or are we going to be going after wide receivers who are solid?
And I
I don't know.
think the thing is that's a great point because when you think about it, like they did obviously express that interest in Tyler Boyd, but as also is it to try to get rid of Debo. Like if you
Oh,
evolve as a head coach and you evolve as an offense, you're gonna put more actual receivers on the field. The
right.
gadget stuff that Debo does, as much as people say it's not replaceable, it's replaceable. You're not
Yeah.
going to get those breakaway 40-yard runs, but you're going to get those level of plays. Like we saw Curtis Samuel do it at a decent level. So I don't think it's necessarily to get rid of Brandon Ayuk. I think he's trying to essentially take his offense and go a little bit more pass centric.